professional, doesn't it?
It does. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to a new, almost professional-looking Just Chatting / podcast, which is actually one of the first arguments we're about to be having. Thank you for joining us from the very start. Let's start traditionally. Callum, how are you?
I am great. I'm absolutely run off my feet from today, but I am great.
Good.
How are you?
You know what? I'm tired. I made the mistake / good choice of buying an Oculus, one of the VR headsets, and I've been playing Beat Saber all day, and I am shattered. I
don't have the energy for it.
Really, it is insane. Hang on, I'm going to put the Tavern background music on. We've not got the Tavern ambience currently going on right now.
Ooh.
We get the Tavern ambience happening.
We've added new tech and removed old tech.
We have. We are doing so super well. And now I want to double check to make sure. There we go. This is nice. Is this the? Yeah, this is a nice little tavern. Look at this. Look at this. Look at us. Almost like we're professional at what we do.
Yeah, almost. Do you know what? I feel bad for you because I remember when I had a green screen like the one you've got, where it's like a material, and the creases are a nightmare.
I've had to iron the green screen.
Yeah, I had to do it all the time when I used to use one. This one's amazing. It's just like a jack in the box. You press a button, it goes boom, and it's up.
I think it's very telling of my effort and willingness to spend money that I would rather iron my green screen than go and buy a proper green screen.
Yeah, I will say this though, when you get one of these, so simple.
Yeah,
so simple. Just press a button and it's ready.
Now, I've got a lot of things I want to chat about. There's a couple of people in the chat saying this is the first time. Is this a Shadow Cabal meeting? Officially, as far as tax reasons go, yes. So if HMRC come knocking and the tax man's like, hey, you guys working? Technically, yes. That's how we justify a lot of the things that we buy.
Oh, yeah.
What is the difference between a podcast and just chatting, especially on Twitch? Cal, what's the difference?
I'd say just chatting is just one person chatting, and a podcast is more than one person chatting, but that's not even correct when I think about it.
Right, so because there's a podcast section on Twitch and there's a just chatting section. Now, the just chatting gets far more viewers, which is why we are in the just chatting. A podcast needs structure. Isn't that what's happening? Well, in that case, fine.
We've been in the wrong section for a while now, then.
Very little structure with the kind of stuff that a podcast needs a hot tub. Oh, trust me, if we could do this in a hot tub, we will do one day.
Oh, yeah.
That's a promise from me to you.
Green screen in a hot tub.
We will green screen a hot tub, and that's exactly what will happen. As a podcast, you speak to a specific group of people. The Just Chatting is more of a streamer speaking to a specific group. Yeah, we'll go with Just Chatting. That seems like a good idea. Eventually,
we do chat to the audience as well. Yeah. So it's kind of like, we're doing both, really, but we'll go with the one that has the most audience. Yeah. So
someone's put podcast is more professional. In that case, we will stick in Just Chatting.
Yeah.
There's many words I could use to describe me and Callum. Professional it's on the list, but it's definitely not near the top. There's a lot of words before we get there.
We're getting there. We are getting there.
Yeah, we did a pretty good show at Insomnia, so that's quite professional. We got close.
Yeah, a few hundred people saw it. I mean, you know.
So we've got some stuff to chat about today. We've got some things we want to talk about. We've got thoughts and opinions, and you guys need to know them. First thought and opinion. Callum, you'll know more about this than I will. World of Warcraft's latest expansion, is it Dragonflight?
Yeah.
Gotcha. The one where they looked at Guild Wars 2 and went, that's a pretty good mount system.
Yeah.
Let's take that. Talk me through Dragonflight.
It has been the best and worst thing that's happened to me this week. Best thing because it looks like they have actually taken valid criticism of all the systems, and they've gone through and thought, you know what? The players actually know what they're on about. We'll bring back the old talent system because it's what everybody wanted. And this is the main issue that people have had with WoW. They call it the borrowed power system, where the best example is they dig a hole with an expansion, and then at the end of the expansion, they fill it back in before digging the next hole. So they give you this power, then you forfeit it at the end of the expansion, then you regain it again over and over. And they've said that they want to go back to vanilla, where your progress through multiple expansions feels meaningful and like compounding from every decision you make, which is brilliant. That's the purpose of the RPG element, right?
Yeah, borrowed power, parasitic design. Some people call it content islands. So here's a perfect example. Was it in Legion where you got the Legion weapons?
The artifact weapons. Yes.
That was the one. So you start the Legion expansion, you get the artifact weapons, you build them up to be super powerful, and then at the end of the expansion, everyone has their power drained from their artifact weapons in order to effectively cleanse the massive sword that Sargeras has stabbed the planet with. So when the next expansion starts, you are back to being less powerful because you've drained your artifact power.
Exactly.
People in the chat are like, what sword? What sword? Didn't even happen. What sword?
Yeah.
No, it's...
Pulls rug over swords, someone in my chat says.
Yeah, just put a big sheet over it and just... It's nothing. Don't worry about it, okay? Just don't worry about it. It's fine. That is a perfect example of, like, the DM forgetting what's been happening in the game.
Yeah.
But the DM is Blizzard.
Yeah.
So
do that. They do that a lot.
Yeah, someone's gone, hey, well, what happened to that massive sword that Sargeras stabbed the planet with? Don't worry about it. It's fine. We've fixed the planet's wounds with Azerite. We have drained the artifact weapons to fix it. In fact, World of Warcraft story is something I want to talk to you about in a second, but borrowed power. The idea that an expansion starts, you get powerful, the expansion ends, you get weak again, which means there's no real continuity between the previous expansion and the next one, and that's what I think really irritates people. So how's Dragonflight been for the continuity aspect?
I think continuity is being slightly thrown to the wayside because they realise it's an issue they can't fix now. But I think they're treating Dragonflight as a clean slate, and I hope they do. Because there's that many issues that have been built up, they're not going to fix them. If they fix them, they're just putting a band-aid on it, right? And what's good for story in this sense is not good for gameplay. If they fix all those things, it'll be a hodgepodge of just tied off loose ends. So with the dragon story being something that's been loosely in the background all these years, I think they could take this and run with it as a clean slate, fresh start, and like this could be the redemption arc of WoW. I genuinely think it could be.
Because Final Fantasy is going through its new expansion, so a new story is not an unheard of thing. But how's World of Warcraft done? How have the community been taking this?
The community seem to be over the moon about it. Now it's hard to tell because since the sexual harassment allegations and stuff, their videos have all been dislike bombed into oblivion, right? Now, normally it's like 80% dislikes on their videos, but now it's about like 70% likes, which to me says that they're winning people back over and they're showing, good faith in doing the right thing this time.
People have
whether they do it or not.
Yeah, very short memory, isn't it? The mob mentality has a very intense but very short lifespan. So when people get really angry about something and really passionate about something, you'll find that it lasts for about 3 months and then dies down. I mean, there are people still campaigning for the whole Coney 2012 thing, child soldiers in the jungle, and people were like, that's 2012, didn't that happen? Like, no, it's still going on. It's just that once the 3 months has happened, no one cares anymore. People have
I think the turning point for the Coney 2012 thing might have been the fate of it masturbating in public in front of kids. That could have been the issue.
That didn't help. Yeah, no one can deny that wasn't a positive for the movement. But the idea that any outrage-based movement has about 3 months worth of energy, because the mob don't like to focus on one thing. The mob like to be outraged. So what happens is you'll find something to be annoyed at, everyone's annoyed at it, and then 3 months later, everyone's annoyed at something different.
Someone says, Josh looks like a Force ghost from Star Wars. And
Callum,
now I've looked at it, you do.
You must go to the Dagobah system. Yeah, so what's happened here is my webcam is much worse than Callum's is. Callum's has a much better webcam than I do. So he's in all his lovely HD glory. Consider it, Callum is attached via HD cable. I'm attached via SCART. I've put the 3 pins into the...
I was going to say VGA, but you've gone all the way back.
Yeah, I've gone all the way back. I'm like SCART-style cable. Callum is changing the source on the TV to HDMI 1, and I am playing an old Sega Master System, changing the source to channel 6, and then just slowly wiggling the dial until it eventually works and you get it. And that's a very, very old reference.
That is a very old reference. It's a combination of three things, Josh. It's a combination of webcam quality, green screen quality, and lighting. Because if you don't have all three, there's one of them's not going to fix anything, is it?
I mean, my lighting is a lamp from Wilco's with a bit of T-shirt cut out and hanging over it to diffuse the light. The green screen's a big bit of fabric from the market, and the webcam is an old Logitech that I think I found in a bin.
Do you know what? After that explanation, you're doing well. It doesn't look as bad as it should.
No, we've managed to make the pieces better than they were, and it works.
It does.
Yeah.
You've bodged it together, and it just works.
Straight up works. 5 out of 7.
Something I was going to say. When we were in Insomnia, Rage said to me, "There's a new expansion coming out for WoW. Do you raid or anything?" I was like, "Oh, I used to do some very, very high-end raiding." And she was like, "Oh, we're looking for new members for the guild." And I was like, "Nah, not really my thing." This announcement dropped, and I DM'd Rage, and I was like, "You still got that space?" And I restarted my subscription and have power leveled pretty much to max level in 2 days.
Yep. Yeah, I thought a lot. Kira TV, he's said exactly the same on his Discord. They've got their claws back into him. I'm kind of thankful that I started World of Warcraft in the Battle for Azeroth phase, so my first experience of it was shit. So I don't really have nostalgia.
Did you say Battle for Azeroth?
Yeah.
Right. You joined at the worst time possible.
I did. I really did.
I would say, either now or when the new expansion comes out, or the pre-patch for it, give it another chance, because for all the shit that people throw at WoW, there are good elements there.
Yeah.
And in fact, literally last night, we were talking about how we want the player controller to feel for Nightmare World, and a lot of people hadn't played WoW, and I was like, right, I'm pitching that we have like WoW-style controls. Try it, and you'll see what I mean. They all jumped in and they were just like, "Oh my god, I have never played with a player controller that feels this natural and good."
Yeah.
So they've got a lot of good elements there, and hopefully this expansion will fix the bad ones.
Yeah, World of Warcraft has a lot of really good ideas, but this is something that I want to discuss with you specifically. A lot of people say that World of Warcraft started to go downhill after Wrath of the Lich King, when Cataclysm came in. People give a lot of reasons for this. Things like Group Finder being added, which I think is both a positive and a negative. It's a positive for allowing people to find content, and it's a negative for potentially
community now.
Yeah, fragment the community. But here's a notion that I want to put out to everyone in the chat and everyone that knows anything about World of Warcraft or storytelling. And Cal, you can give me your opinion on this as well. Warcraft 3, The Frozen Throne, Reign of Chaos, started the story of Arthas.
Yeah.
Wrath of the Lich King finished the story of Arthas.
Yeah.
Do you think the reason World of Warcraft dropped a lot of interest after Wrath of the Lich King is simply because, as far as a narrative, portion goes, it was done. The story had been told. The main story that people were invested in had ended.
Yes. So I think that was part of the problem, and WoW tried to come up with a solution to that, which sounds great in concept. So they always had this one story, the big bad for each expansion, and they realized, okay, we need somebody who doesn't just enjoy this icy, frosty Lich King story to move on to the next story, the fiery god. So they started having overlapping stories where halfway through one expansion, a loose end would pop up and start a story that would span to halfway through the next expansion. So you'd have these kind of like, imagine like a video track where there's overlapping tracks on both layers all the way across. So that you're never at the end and the start of a story. If you are, you're in the middle of the other story. And while that sounds great in concept, they couldn't manage it.
No.
Like, they really couldn't. They neglected one story, which means it was useless. And this is where all the loose ends came from. Because they were like, okay, players weren't invested. After halfway through that story, let's let it fizzle out. But I think the biggest issue that started around Wrath was borrowed power. Your talent system changed to all these talents that you earn, and then next expansion, there's new talents, and you earn them all again, and again, and again. And the gear stopped being a linear treadmill and became like a repeating treadmill, right? So you've said this before, it's not an expansion, it's a replacement of the existing thing, but you have to start over. That was the issue, and that was the issue for me as well. It was just tiring. It became a chore.
Yeah, because World of Warcraft, as opposed to a lot of other MMORPGs at the time, was such a story narrative-driven game. People wanted to know the fate of Arthas. People wanted to know the fate of the world and the fate of Azeroth. They cared about these characters. They cared about these people. And I think the trap that Blizzard fell into was they told a story, they told a story, they told a story, they finished the story. And when you finish a story, there's a lot of energy that gets depleted. You know, the viewer is happy. It's done. It's told. It's finished. If you keep saying to the viewer, okay, and now this happens, and now this happens, and now this happens, it's very difficult to keep someone's attention if the story doesn't end. I like to give an example of the TV show Supernatural. I think Supernatural has 5 fantastic seasons. I think the first 5 seasons of Supernatural tell a perfect story. It was always intended to be a 5-season thing, and then after that, it kind of... You can tell that they know that the characters are popular, the world is popular, the lore is popular, and so they're trying to just shoehorn in stuff for you to care about. Someone in the chat has just said the Simpsons syndrome. You know what? Absolute spot on. The Simpsons told a lot of great character arcs. One of the best character arcs in The Simpsons, without a doubt, Sideshow Bob. Sideshow Bob has such a phenomenally beautiful character arc. And then when they ran out of stories to tell, the characters become almost hollow frameworks to just push stories onto and use them as vehicles to progress. Do you feel that World of Warcraft lost its narrative focus and just became a series of systems to make gamers sit down and play?
Yes, and in fact, Kurdo in my chat has nailed it. Every new expansion of WoW is literally its own spin-off. And that's true. They all exist in the same universe, but there's no continuity between the two anymore.
Yeah.
It's odd.
And how have other... Because I can think of one game that has faced this same problem and absolutely nailed how to deal with it. And that was Guild Wars 1. Did you ever play Guild Wars 1, Cal?
Long time ago. When it was current.
So, for anyone in the chat who hasn't played Guild Wars 1, the expansions of Guild Wars 1 don't necessarily follow on from the exact story of the previous. What they do is they start a brand new story. And when you start a new expansion, you can start a new character at level 1 and go through and play again. And then when a new expansion comes out, it's a new character at level 1 and you carry on through. So you don't need to have played Prophecies to go and enjoy Factions or to enjoy Nightfall or to enjoy Eye of the North. It was really, really clever the way they've done it. I think Guild Wars 2 is very similar in that aspect. World of Warcraft right now has so much lore behind it, and it's been retconned so many times. I don't think a new player... You're going to have to help me organise my thoughts in this, Cal.
Okay.
When a new player is exposed to the world of Warcraft for the first time, they hear the epic stories like Arthas, like the Burning Crusade, like Sargeras, like the Pandas. And then when they actually play the game, they realise that the epic stories they've been told have nothing to do with the game as it is now.
Yeah. In fact, I remember how I got into WoW. One of my friends at college was telling me, he was a massive nerd, played it non-stop, and he was telling me about how he just got the legendary mage staff, like the dragon-headed staff. I can't remember what it was called, like Syndracosa's something, I don't know. But he was going on about the fact that only like 6 people have that staff. And for some reason, to me, that was epic, knowing that there were 14 million players and only 6 people currently had it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And then I played as the new expansion started. And I wanted to get that staff. That was kind of like my goal, you know. I want to be one of those 7 people now with that staff. And everyone now had it because the gap between the expansions made that previous important thing so unimportant.
It's almost...
And even though that wasn't a story, it was more of like a player legacy thing, right? That still crushes that player legacy and makes everything you did up until this point utterly worthless.
Do you think one of the personal achievement angle is, many years ago, if you logged on to play World of Warcraft and you got something rare, you thought that might be rare for many, many years. It's part of your personal legend and your personal tale. It's your character's story. Now, because people have seen how this borrowed power system works, when you log on to play World of Warcraft or when you play an expansion, you know in the back of your mind everything you do is going to be relevant and important for about the next year or two. And then a new expansion comes out and everything you've done is now not relevant and not important again. And to go back to the idea of these original expansions being super impressive and super important and people caring, people still really care about Invincible, the mount that you can get from killing Arthas. That's got such a legend to it. It's got such a cult status as an icon. People consider it the best mount, or the Ashes of Allah, the one that you can get from killing Kel'Thas repeatedly. I can't think of anything that new or non-WoW players would care about as much in these new expansions.
Yeah, there's honestly nothing. It's like the legendary system was an amazing system, right? These legacy items that you'd see someone with it and you'd be like, wow, like I've seen 2 of those ever. But then they added that everybody can get a legendary because some people wanted it but didn't get it. Which, that's the point of a legendary item. If everybody has it, it's not legendary.
Yeah.
So now they had these legendary items that everybody could get, but you could only get 1 of 10 for your class. So then the issue became, well, that guy's got the best legendary for Windwalker Monk. I'm stuck with the shitty one. I want that. So then they let you re-roll which legendaries you get and get multiple. So it's kind of... The way Blizzard's doing this is kind of odd because they're giving something desirable, but then making it not desirable because everybody has it. Because something's only desirable if nobody has it, right?
Yeah, the rarity matters.
Yeah.
So
they've really ruined it.
And I don't know if you've looked in, but I was reading Massively OP, one of the MMORPG news sites earlier. Apparently, Activision Blizzard's earnings over the last quarter have plummeted.
Oh, it's abysmal.
It has gone. I've got the page up here. Let me just bring this up and have a look, see what we've got. But they have gone down. Okay, Q1 report. Blizzard have lost 2 million players.
And they only had 6 million at the height of last year.
Yeah.
So they've lost a quarter of their players at least in 1 month. We don't know if it's lower than that. People are estimating what their current players are, and they're estimating around 2.5 to 3 million.
So that the Q1 income from last year and the Q1 income from this year, that is a decrease of 145 million. Basically, there's a 43% year-on-year drop-off of Activision Blizzard's income, and it doesn't seem to be recovering. They have lost so many players, and some people will say it's because of the pandemic. Everyone was inside, everyone was playing World of Warcraft at the time, Shadowlands was really good. Is it just me? This is me coming from like a non-World of Warcraft fanatic. I've played the game, but I'm not super clued up on it. Has Shadowlands just stopped mattering? Like that kind of came and went, and no one really cared.
There's something Blizzard have been doing in recent expansions, and I'm really not sure why. They have been having content droughts that have been lasting 8 months at a time. And Warlords of Draenor was the worst. There was a 13-month content drought with no updates. And so you've got these players that are trying to run on this treadmill that doesn't exist. And they wonder why people are quitting.
So what?
I don't know if they've downsized and everybody's focused on the next expansion as soon as the first one releases, or what, but there's something not right.
Let me try and give what I believe, and this is something, again, I think is really, really, really important right up to Battle of Azeroth. And I've said this before on stream, but I want to get your specific opinion, and everyone in chat, I want your feedback on this as well. World of Warcraft do something amazing with their box art and their titles of expansions. They use the box art and the title to tell a story. And even if you don't know the game, you can pick up the box, read the box art, look at the picture, and you can immediately know the story. The Burning Crusade. You pick it up, you see a massive demon on the front, the Burning Crusade. Are these demons going on a crusade? Are they marching across the land? Would you say that's a pretty accurate description of what the Burning Crusade actually is?
Fairly accurate, yeah.
Brilliant. Demons are coming back. Wrath of the Lich King. There's a guy in the front with a big icy sword. I'm guessing he's the Lich King, and he's probably pretty wrathful. Is that, again, pretty accurate?
Yeah.
All right, cool. You can do this with every single expansion. Right up until Battle for Azeroth. You can pick up Mist of Pandaria. Oh, there's a panda on the front. Maybe the expansion's about Pandaria. Maybe that's them. You can do it with Cataclysm. There's a huge dragon on the front. Maybe he's going to cause something cataclysmic. You pick up Battle for Azeroth, you've got a Horde face and an Alliance face fighting. Nowhere in that title or on that box art does it tell you Mayan Incan-inspired dinosaurs.
Nope.
So when I bought Battle for Azeroth, I was actually expecting a battle for Azeroth. And when I started playing it, I'm like, there's a lot of dinosaurs in this kind of South American-themed Inca battle. Yeah. I had no clue that was what I should expect.
Yeah, they've definitely dropped the ball with that. I'd even argue Legion to a certain extent. If you don't know about WoW, Legion doesn't mean anything to you. You see Illidan on the front, and the word Legion. It doesn't mean anything.
So let's have a look at the Shadowlands box art. I want to work out. I haven't seen this one yet. So I have, but I just can't remember it. That's how memorable this is. Okay, Shadowlands box art. There is a guy with a hammer and a big pauldron, and he's all kind of like ashen, and there's like lava. Is he Mr. Shadowland?
I haven't seen the box art, so let me have a look.
I'm not even taking the piss. Guys in the chat, someone's just got, no, that's Bolvar. Who?
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, that's not the box art, though. The box art is the Spire of Dominion, is it? It's Ice Crown Citadel.
Oh, that's even worse. But I have no idea what that is then. Okay, so who's that guy?
Well, it is Bolvar, but you wouldn't know that, and it wouldn't mean anything to you.
Fill me in. Who's Bolvar?
So, Bolvar is one of the people who was helping fight the Lich King in... I'm going to really dumb this down because you don't know WoW, but he was helping fight the Lich King at the end, and when they killed him, he basically says that someone must always wear the crown. And they don't explain why.
Who wore the crown before Arthas? Because if I remember correctly, in the original Warcraft 3, there wasn't anyone wearing the crown. Was the Lich King wearing the crown? No one, technically. Surely you just picked the crown up. Because you got the sword, didn't you? Was there actually someone wearing the crown in Warcraft 3?
I believe there was always someone wearing the crown.
Okay.
Ner'zhul, yeah, that was it.
Ner'zhul,
because
cool.
The line is there must always be a Lich King.
Okay, cool.
Right? And so when the Lich King was killed, Bolvar took one for the team, took a fat L, put the helmet on, sat in the chair, and then... Now that Sylvanas removed his crown in the opening cinematic and shattered it...
We need to talk about Sylvanas, because character writing is all over the shop.
Yeah. But that's how that happened. So they were at the top of Ice Crown Citadel. She ripped the helmet in half, and it just shattered the sky, and the Shadow Realm opened up above.
Okay,
that's it.
Cool. Going on. And that's the Shadowlands.
Yeah, that's the Shadowlands, and that's why... Bolvar is on there because he's helping, like, do some shit or another. I don't know.
You know, there's a problem in anime, and this I think World of Warcraft is actually suffering from a very anime-style writing problem right now. You beat the boss. Oh, yeah. I was only working for someone else. So you beat him. Boss. But I was only working for someone else. So you beat him, but I was only working for someone else. Like, eventually you get to the guy that's at the top. You have to. If you don't ever get to the guy that's at the top, if the organization keeps growing, then the audience stop caring.
Yeah.
And you also have this thing where...
That's what's happened with Sargeras.
Yeah, you say, I was bad, but actually compared to the next guy, I'm good. And then you go and beat the next guy, and they're like, oh yeah, well, I know that I looked bad, but I was actually trying to stop this person. And then you get them, and you're like, well, actually, I was trying to stop... Who's good in World of Warcraft? Is there any good guy?
I was going to say Uther, but he's bad now, I think.
Seriously, Uther's bad.
I think so. People are going to... I power leveled. I didn't read the story. But someone in chat can tell me if Uther's gone bad. The story was shit. Like, there's no sugarcoating it. The story for Shadowlands is shit.
Uther went bad and then went good. Uther sounds like milk.
Spoiled it for me.
Uther was milk that became rotten and then became cheese. They were like, this is good. It's gone quite bad. Hey, he pulled it around.
It's good again.
It's good again. Fantastic. Don't leave it too long. It'll go rotten and then get mouldy. Uther has like a cheese-style life.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hang on. Battle for Azeroth. Who was that mother construct in the cave that was in a raid. They were
So
super important, weren't they? I'm sure they're going to appear again.
I know the one you're on about, where it's like the walled off like Star Wars Force gates as
Yeah.
they open and you move through. I don't know. We one-shot her, so I never actually read any of the voice lines.
Fair play. Okay. And we've beaten the Shadowlands. The dragons have come back. Are the dragons bad?
Do you know what it reminds me of? You talking about the oh, but that's my boss, and then
Yeah.
the boss above. That just reminds me of Yu-Gi-Oh! After the first season, where it's like,
It is.
I've got a blue-eyed white dragon. Well, I've got a two-headed blue-eyed white dragon. Well, I've
Yeah.
got a seven-toed red-eyed blue dragon. Yeah.
Is World of Warcraft suffering Yu-Gi-Oh fatigue? Is everything
Yu-Gi-Oh
just
syndrome.
getting more powerful?
Yeah.
I hope the next World of Warcraft expansion is entirely on motorcycles. That's what I want.
Sargeras 2 Demon Lord Boogaloo. That's what it's going to
Sargeras
be.
2, Return of the original guy that's bad. So we've got narrative power creep going on.
Yeah.
Sylvanas. Good, bad, irrelevant? Fill me in.
She's like that ex that you keep going back to because you think she's changed.
Right. Gotcha.
And then you instantly realise why you shouldn't have gone back to her.
I see it. Okay, cool. So she was... Wasn't there a bit of a thing about whoever wrote Sylvanas had a bit of a thing for her? Like, there was a writer accused of having like a bit of a self-insert thing going on.
Yeah, they tried to like project themselves into Sylvanas. I heard about this and it was very weird. Very weird. I don't know any more about that though.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be doing super well. So Sylvanas was bad, and then she went good, and then she was bad again, and now she's good, and now the dragons are back. Do we... Honest question, Cal.
Yeah.
Do we need to care about the dragons coming back, or do you think this will be irrelevant in, like, 2 expansions' time?
I actually think that the dragons coming back is setting up for an incredibly big story arc. So anyone who knows about the Dragonflight from books and, like, the side quests early on... will know how big of a deal they are. So, very heavily tied to the Emerald Dream, which is an expansion that was teased a long time ago. It was going to be the 3rd expansion, but because of technical limitations, they couldn't do it then. However, people have been begging for it, and the Emerald Dream is basically Azeroth untouched.
Okay.
Now, think of the possibility from WoW's perspective of an untouched Azeroth. This is going hand in hand with their reset everything kind of thing. Because it's in the lore. It wouldn't be an out-of-the-box random, haha, we're resetting WoW. It would be justified that if you go back to the Emerald Dream...
Do you think World of Warcraft has hit a bit of a snag? Because, as you said, you didn't read the story. You just power level through because the gameplay is interesting.
Yeah.
What does an MMORPG, and I can think of one, and I think you'll agree as well, I can think of one MMORPG that has added content for many, many, many years, and people still care about the land, not necessarily the stories that are being told within the land. And I would say that's RuneScape.
Good
or
old
school
RuneScape. Absolutely.
What does World of Warcraft need to do to be a land again, instead of just a vehicle for driving expansions?
It's really funny that you mentioned that, because in our last developer meeting, this is actually the comparison we made, World of Warcraft to RuneScape. RuneScape is so focused on horizontal progression that every place matters and has different like level of content in it. You can go back to Lumbridge and do something at max level that you can only do at max level.
Yeah.
You can go to like an end game, and this is really it. The locations aren't level based in RuneScape.
No.
Whereas in WoW, they are.
I think in RuneScape, the experience is level-based, but what they've decided to do is spread multiple experiences for various level ranges all over the world. Yeah. So where you start at level 1 is still relevant at level 10, 20, 30, 40, all the way up to 99. And you go somewhere at RuneScape and you do something, and you may need to be level 20 to be relevant, but when you come back at level 90, there's something new. RuneScape, to me, is a world that has adventures for various levels placed in it.
Yeah.
Whereas World of Warcraft seems to be a very linear journey from A to B to C, where when you are at a certain level range, you are encouraged to be at a certain place. And then when you
Yeah.
get to the max level, you're encouraged to repeatedly do this. Someone pointed out, I think it was you and me having this discussion a while ago, Cal, in old school RuneScape, Barrows items came out 15 years ago?
Yeah.
15 years ago for Barrows items. Torag, Verak, Darok. You know, we still know the names. And we still know the names because they're actually still relevant.
Yeah.
Items that came out 15 years ago in old school RuneScape are still not only relevant, but good.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything from World of Warcraft that came out 15 years ago that's not only relevant, but still actually good. Possibly Invincible the Mount, because of how rare it is.
But that's cosmetic, so that doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Because cosmetics will always be relevant. No,
Hang
you're
on.
right. It's...
Someone's just put OSRS didn't come out 15 years ago, and they are irrelevant in the main game. Barrow's armor isn't irrelevant in the main game, mate. Barrow's armor is still a very important step. When is it level 70 you need to be defense for Barrow's armor?
Yeah.
Yeah, 70 defense is really, really good thing to have.
And some people still use that at level 90
Yeah.
because for certain situations it's really good.
Yeah, if I'm going, tanking in God Wars, having Barrow's armor, I'd be fine with that. I'd be absolutely fine with that.
People have found out that subscribing to me breaks the green screen.
Hey,
'cause
it
the
does.
lights change.
Subscribing to Cal. Oh, guys, if you're in this chat right now, if you go and
for God's
follow...
sake.
Oh, yes, okay. If you go and follow Callum, who's co-streaming this at the same time, Callum has lights in his room set up that flash in various colours. And whenever people donate to or follow or subscribe to Cal, these lights all get queued up. And it's a series. Cal's running a green screen behind him. And it's just been discovered that these lights break the colour of the green just enough.
Following doesn't, because follow is flashing white. Oh, never mind.
There we go. It makes things go bad, but yeah. So subscribing to Cal will break it slightly. Guthans are still really good for AFKing, absolutely. And Swampletics. Cal, you've seen the Swampletics series, haven't you?
I have. I've seen it all the way through. I love it.
I can think of one or two things like that in World of Warcraft. The guy that played the panda that picked the flowers all the way to max level without choosing either Horde or the Alliance.
Yes.
What is it about RuneScape that allows so much content to be made? Because YouTube, MMORPGs, RuneScape dominates it. There's so many RuneScape series of it.
It's because there are many, many ways to play the game. And none of them are right, none of them are wrong. But you can get creative with it. And I think that's the issue with WoW. You are fed down this pipeline that they want you to go down. And you have to, realistically. You'd be insane not to. You're just harming your own experience. But RuneScape, you just do whatever you want. And I think that's something that you can leverage as a game designer.
I dislike Sandbox MMORPG games. And, I think that's actually wrong. I thought I disliked Sandbox games. This is the weird thing. I thought I disliked Sandbox. And the reason I thought this was because the majority of Sandbox games I played didn't do anything to help the player find a goal or to set any expectations or to help me get into it. But the more I play it is... RuneScape is actually very close to being Sandbox.
I would say it is.
You can do
it. It absolutely is.
I mean, you can't manipulate the world and you can't build things, but you can do a hell of a lot. And you've got no choices, and there's no classes specifically. But the reason I think I like RuneScape is because there's so much stuff you can do in it, and there's so much stuff that encourages you, like the quests. The quests are a massive adventure line.
Yeah.
I really would like it if more Sandbox games had maybe not quest systems in there as much, but at least direction to take, to go on. It's super non-linear. That's the best way to do it.
That is the best way. That is the best way to put it. And that's another thing that we used RuneScape as a comparison for. We want players to just be able to roam off aimlessly.
Yeah.
Find an old lady in a house and start a huge chain of quests.
Yeah.
But meaningful storytelling quests that fill the fantasy of something, right? You want to try and fill every fantasy in a game where you want to be a pirate, go off, do the pirate quests.
Yeah.
You want to be like a firefighter in a city that's burning down, go do that. And I think RuneScape's a good benchmark for like freedom, breed in creativity from the player.
Now, talking about if you want to be this class, go and do that quest. I love that idea. I was talking about, class design and quest design with someone for a long time, and I realised that actually Realm of the Mad God did this. I hadn't even played Realm of the Mad God at the time, and I realised it was doing it. So someone said to me, what should I do with classes in the game? And I suggested this. Have some basic classes that characters can start as, and then have class quests. Like, you're a warrior, you go and speak to the warrior trainer, you go through all the warrior quests. When you finish them, you become like a certified warrior. And then you've got a botanist quest, and you go through to the botany. And when you've got top warrior and top botany, you can speak to someone else, and they say, hey, I see you've got these, let's combine them, and you now become an alchemist, or something like that, or a combat alchemist. Yeah. I love the idea of quest lines building on quest lines which unlock extra classes, but those classes aren't necessarily best in slot or, uber powerful. They're just different. They play in a horizontal way, and Realm of the Mad God does that. I think Star Wars Galaxies did that. I want to talk about a game that does that we have to dig into the history of. And I don't know how much you know about it. In the chat, who played Dragon Fable? One of the Arctic's games.
I didn't, actually.
Have you ever played Adventure Quest? The old Flash animated...
Oh, yes, I have.
Yeah. I honestly think Adventure Quest is one of the most important online RPG games ever made. Adam Bonn, the guy that made the whole thing, I am so in awe of what he has done. Now, I've taken the piss, and I've made bad reviews of both Adventure Quest 3D and Adventure Quest Worlds, but I don't want anyone to ever think that this means I don't respect Adam Bonn the absolute utmost. What do you know about Adventure Quest, Cal?
I know one thing, actually, that many people didn't. Do you know that it wasn't database driven?
No, do tell.
In the early days of Dragon Quest, you could completely modify your money client-side. Everything was client-side.
I have heard of people explaining that, people, you're giving yourself max gold and stuff like that. I never did it because I was a kid at the time, but no, I have definitely heard of people doing it.
Oh, I did that.
Give yourself
all
max
the time.
Everything.
I sold that gold to people who didn't know it was client-side.
Excellent. See? Hustle culture.
Hustle.
But I absolutely loved Adventure Quest as a kid. It started my obsession with online RPGs, and I thought, here is a game that saves my progress, that I can log onto from any computer. Here is a game that it started that fire burning in me of online RPGs, and Adventure Quest was great. And then Dragon Fable came around, and then Mech Quest, and then finally Adventure Quest 3D and Adventure Quest Worlds. But I was reading an interview with Adam Bonn. I mean, I've read so much about this guy. I am in awe of the things he's achieved. This guy made about 1,000 Flash games
I have heard this.
Before settling on Adventure Quest. And he made thousands. He was in school, and he would go home, and over the next 3 or 4 days, he'd make a very simple Flash game of a character moving around, a very simple RPG, a very simple fighting game. He did so much stuff. And finally, he made Adventure Quest, and he showed it to his friends, and his friends went, this is really good, put it online. And he didn't think it was great, but he tried it, and he put it out there, and it succeeded. And I keep telling people, if you want to succeed, do a lot of stuff. Try a lot of
forwards.
Things. Yeah, fail
forwards is the best method to learn game dev. Yeah. It really is.
And Adam Bond's, his attitude toward work, I don't know the guy specifically or personally. I would love to chat to him sometime, but his attitude toward creating deserves the utmost respect. And I made a video a while back saying that you need to have 5 things before you need to make an MMORPG. A franchise, money, time, experience. Adam Bonn had all 5. Cal, what franchise do you think is going to be the next Adventure Quest, Dragon Fable, Online, Adam Bonn? What's it going to be next? It might be
League of Legends.
Yeah, might be League of Legends.
League of Legends, hands down. Like they've got everything, and now with the Arcane series, they've gone above and beyond. They've got everything they need. I think it'll be that.
Do you think Arcane is a setup for an MMORPG. Because because I know they're making an MMO, and when I was watching Arcane, I was seeing all the stuff that's going to go into an MMO. You've seen Arcane, haven't you?
Yeah. Faction setup, like
transport ships. They even had a line, you know, if this gate doesn't get there, then the wine's going to go off. Okay, cool. So we've got fast travel, fast transport.
I think they already know that they had the foundations for an MMO.
Mm-hmm.
They just needed to open it up to the non-MOBA crowd. Yeah. And Arcane did that, because I don't like League of Legends.
No.
I really don't. I've tried it and I hate it. But if they bring out an MMO based off of Arcane, I will play it.
Yeah, they have built so much lore into that show already. Super, super impressed with it. So let's just circle back to the World of Warcraft bringing out the next expansion.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy XIV's main story that it's been working on for years and years and years has ended with Endwalker.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think FF14 is going to have to do differently, as far as starting a new storyline goes, to make sure it doesn't fall into the World of Warcraft trap of, here's the next big bad?
I genuinely do not know, because I've seen so many MMOs that have survived fall into that. And because they are a linear progression, I really don't know. And they can't just instantly switch up to like horizontal progression without a good reason to. So I think they'd have to go for a good setup, a good change, and while they're changing the story, like shift to horizontal gameplay.
See, people in the chat are saying some great things, and I'm absolutely on board. They're not going back to the next big bad. They're just going back to small adventures. So the next Final Fantasy expansion might not have the world in jeopardy. It might not have a cataclysmic, reality-ending event. It might just be a couple of local villages or local towns in trouble. It might just be... It might be smaller, but more personal. And I think that's a really nice place for a game to be in. It doesn't need to be the next most powerful thing. It just needs to be, we've saved the world, but the world's not perfect yet. Let's go deal with the small problems.
You can only save the world so many times before you start to just see the signs of it repeating. Yeah. Ooh. So they do need to do something.
Well, I read another thing. This is it. Here we go. I've been reading massively OP all day. Want to get your opinion on this.
Okay.
What do you think of play-to-earn blockchain games?
It is dumb. And I will tell you why. If it's a fun game, everyone's going to play it. Therefore, you're not earning as much. If you are earning a lot off a game, it's not going to be very fun, and it's now just work.
So
it's a job where you're either not paid much, or you're paid a lot and you hate it.
So it's about rarity. If everyone's playing it, then the resources generated are going to be abundant and not necessarily have much value. But if no one's playing it, then the resources you generate will be rare, but also there'll be no one to buy them off you.
YouTube is a perfect example, right? Let's say, so I'm a scam tuber, right? I create content about scams. Let's say it makes lots of money. It's fun. And because it's fun, more people are going to jump in and do it. Well, the ad revenue is now being split between the 25,000 of us that are now doing it. It's fun, but I'm not making any money off it. Yeah. So I'm going to have to go and make content in an area that is boring, about financial stuff. It's boring, but not many people want to do it because it's boring, so it makes a lot of money. It's going to fall into that, 100%.
I completely agree. When someone says play to earn, I say, do you mean work? And they go, no, play to earn. You play the game and you earn money. And I go, okay, is the game fun? Because if the game's fun, you won't necessarily play it to earn money. You'll play it for the enjoyment. If the game's not fun and you're playing it for the money, that is work. What I've seen recently, and this does have a point, there's actually an MMO game that's going this way. I have seen, especially with the rise of crypto and NFTs, the financialization of everything. There seems to be this very tech bro, very hustle culture idea that if you aren't financially benefiting from doing something, then doing it is pointless or silly or stupid and you should stop. So people want to play games, but people want to monetize games. So playing games is no longer done for the joy of the game. It's now done for the kind of late-stage capitalism idea that this must benefit me in some way. What do you see the financialization of games ultimately leading to, Callum?
Them not being games anymore. It will just be work with a reskin to make it look like you're playing a game. Genuinely, that's what it's going to become. Look at it like this. RuneScape doesn't allow real-world trading, right? Imagine if they did. Twisted bows are worth 1 billion because they're rare and because not many people can do the content because it's hard. Now, everyone's going to jump into the game, learn that content, and farm the ever-living shit out of twisted bows. The value will go down because there are so many of them now.
I mean, we've already seen RuneScape become a stable job for several people in Venezuela. There's the whole Venezuelan economy being propped up by RuneScape Gold, and that's not me, taking the piss. If you guys actually Google this, there are a lot of people in countries that right now you can earn more money farming green dragons in RuneScape and then selling that gold that you gain from killing the green dragons to a third-party gold-selling site than you can from several low-paying jobs in certain countries. Someone actually said that the Russian ruble has crashed so much that instead of having a minimum wage paying job, you can now just play RuneScape for like 10 hours a day and you'd make more money. The RuneScape Gold is actually a more stable cryptocurrency than some actual cryptocurrencies.
I'm actually going to do a little bit of maths here that will probably scare people.
And the reason I bring this up specifically while Cal is sorting out his maths is there's an article on Massively OP that says Bless Unleashed on PC, remember Bless Unleashed, that next big, the WoW killer, is becoming a blockchain play-to-earn MMO RPG. So Bless Unleashed wasn't really doing that well, and now it's going to be added onto the blockchain. It's going to become a play-to-earn MMORPG. Who's still playing Bless Unleashed? Anyone in the chat still grinding away? I'm guessing not. Cal, how's the maths gone?
I've got it. So, the minimum wage in Venezuela, which is what pretty much everyone is on, is 12 million. I don't even know what their currency is. Venezuelan rubles or something. God knows.
12 million. Okay, let's talk
12 million.
That's a lot of inflation. That's 12 and 6 zeros. Right.
Yeah. So
Bolivar,
that's their monthly.
Bolivar.
Yeah. That's their monthly minimum wage, which pretty much everyone is on.
Okay.
Now, that is 22 British pounds.
A month.
A month. Now,
that's about 30 American dollars, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's say I jump on and buy 2 bonds. I think bonds are still like $9.99 each. Might be, okay, 4 bonds because they're about £5, I think.
Yeah, they're about £5.
I can buy 4 bonds every month, no problem. Doesn't affect my financial situation.
Yeah.
But the people who are... Let me get this right. The people who are selling the gold for other people to buy that bond, that's their monthly wage. Yeah. So they need to make about 18 mil gold in RuneScape a month for a full-time job. And that is a full-time job.
Yeah, and you can make 18 million a month in RuneScape if you have high stats.
You can do it in a day.
In a day.
So they're becoming literal millionaires in Venezuela. They're getting paid more for playing RuneScape than people are for being like CEOs of banks.
And
that's no exaggeration.
This is exactly why scamming is also so popular, because if you look at the risk to reward, you will make more money scamming someone out of 100 million gold than you will trying to earn 100 million gold legitimately when you just give the time and the breakdown and the chances of it. That's why you've got so many bots that can do Warcraft, or bots that can do what was the other one, Zulrah, bots that can farm gold. It was the same thing with the gold farming mostly out of China in World of Warcraft, wasn't it?
In fact, Warcraft's a brilliant example. Warcraft's gold per hour is about 4 million gold per hour. That's about £3 once they've sold the gold off, right?
Yeah.
£3 compared to the £22 a month they get paid, they can make their monthly pay in about 8 hours. Yeah. Easily.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And this is one of the reasons why you can't legalize real-world trading, because the moment you do, it becomes a viable income source for so many people in so many countries that the government of that country would have to step in and start to legalize it and work it all out. Because how do you declare the taxes on that?
Yeah, and I mean, this is why Axi Infinity got so popular. So because it's done with like crypto wallets, they don't have data on anyone, right? But they're estimating that around 65% of their players, based on IP and stuff, are from Venezuela. Because although you can make about $30 to $80 a month playing it, that's a lot for a Venezuelan.
It is. People in the chat are saying, why not legalize it if everyone's doing it? Because as soon as you legalize it, you then have to take on a massive amount of extra corporate responsibility to do it. As soon as you say, right, all of this has actual value, you can trade it around.
It becomes a security, doesn't it?
It becomes a security, and if it has value and kids are buying treasure hunter keys or random chance keys and then pulling stuff from a treasure hunter box that has value, is that gambling?
It absolutely is at that point.
It's one of the main reasons that Magic the Gathering are not, Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro are not able in any way to actually acknowledge the second-hand market. Because the moment Magic the Gathering or Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, acknowledge that different Magic cards have different monetary values, then opening a pack becomes gambling, not purchasing collectible cards. Now, people will say, yeah, but you can buy, rare, expensive secret lair packs. You can buy these super expensive, limited edition packs. Yeah, but that's still not gambling, because
that's the price of 5 cards. For any card, they're all valued the same in their mind.
You know exactly what you're going to get with that. Someone goes, yeah, well, why don't they just sell 15 rare land cards for £100? Well, they did. They had the From the Vault Realms collection. But all of those cards had different artwork, or they were foiled when they shouldn't have been, or they had different artists on them and stuff, and that means that it wasn't gambling, you were buying a collector's item. And that's what it's about. It's collector's items, not necessarily value of the cards. It's a very, very legal grey zone, which is why Jagex absolutely cannot actually acknowledge the value, the monetary value, of any single given item.
There's another reason they wouldn't want to. Think about it like this. Let's say they had a new item, and it's the new best in slot, and it's trading for 1 bill, like $1 billion gold. That's like about £1,000, for example. If they acknowledge the real world value of that gold, and then they nerf the item a bit to bring it back in line with the rest of the stuff, they've just cost people in their minds £200 when the item value crashes. They have actively sandbagged someone's investment. And that's when it becomes an absolute hazard that you just don't want to deal with.
If you're a shareholder in a company, then one of that company's legal responsibilities to you is to make choices that increase the value of the shares you own. One of a company's guiding principles, especially in the UK, is the decisions the company directors and the company take must be beneficial for the shareholders. Now, not necessarily immediately, but they must be able to show a long-term benefit for why that decision is being made. If you own shares in Jagex and you buy an item in-game for £1,000 and then the next day the item gets nerfed and the value drops to 50 million, have you as a shareholder lost value? Well, yeah, it's an in-game item that has an actual thing connected to it, and an update that RuneScape has put out has caused you to lose value in your account and the money that you own. Could you then take that to a court? Could you then take that to the ombudsman and say this company has made a decision that should cost me money as a shareholder? The thing is, the law isn't about who is black and white, right and wrong. It's about who can justify their position the best. And the more subtle you make the positions, the easier it is to justify stuff.
Yeah.
It's a complex thing. People have said, wouldn't that kill NFT games? Axi Infinity, you brought that up. Axi Infinity was the kind of NFT style game where you could own Axies and then you could rent them out to people who would play the game and earn value, and then you as like a landlord would almost take some of the value, wouldn't he?
It's basically contracting work.
Yeah. Which again, that's the play to earn game. And didn't they lose a load of money recently? Didn't they lose like 100?
Lost all their money.
Oh, all of it. Right, that's a couple of $100 million, wasn't it?
$600 million. The entire wallet got emptied because of a vulnerability in the blockchain where... So you know it's kind of like a council thing where everyone has to agree on a transaction, or a majority does.
Yes.
They only needed 5 out of 7 votes to make a transaction go through. So somebody put in a false transaction to the liquidity pool, which is their whole savings.
Okay.
And they had enough bots on the network that essentially the stars aligned and they got all the votes passed out to them at like non-peak time, and they just passed the transaction through.
So hang on, they used bots to... right. It's decentralized, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you're giving people you're giving the community the power to make decisions, and as long as the majority of the community agree, the decision goes through. But that means it's possible to brute force the amount of people in the community who are on your side.
Because you are them.
Wow. That's... Someone said, how does that work? Isn't that against the law? Well, no, because in crypto and NFTs, the whole thing is code is law. The blockchain doesn't have any moral compass. All the blockchain does is record stuff that happens.
And their only real law is 5 out of 7 clients that were picked need to agree on this transaction, and they did.
The guy that owns Axi Infinity has effectively just lost $600 million, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now, that's not necessarily all his. That was value that was in the company and the game, but he was still effectively responsible for $600 million.
That's the issue. So a liquidity pool is a pool that the blockchain can pull from at any time. So if you cash out of Axi, it comes out of the liquidity pool. So people couldn't cash out because there was nothing to cash out from. Yeah.
I'm just reading in the chat, someone's put, oh my god, look at Josh's nose. It's a nose. There we go. If you're not watching the chat right now, nothing special about it, but thank you, Carl. I appreciate that. Now I'm going to be self-conscious for the rest of the stream.
Put some green paint on it, Josh. I'll get that gone in an instant.
Hang on, I've got... You know what? I'm going to make this worse now. Give me a second. Hang on. We're going to make this happen.
Oh, Christ. Not the...
You've been saying I'm a Force Ghost, okay?
Josh,
there we go.
On my screen now,
if we're going to go with the whole Force Ghost thing, I am going to play up to it. There we go. Lovely stuff.
Green in the room.
See, the Shadow Cabal has returned now.
Oh, Josh,
now,
I got something. Speaking of props.
Okay.
Ready for our next D&D session.
I'm excited, Cal. What is it? You've got Swiggity Swoot.
Let's play the flute.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, for those who weren't here, the stream schedule is now 3 days a week, and we have an actual schedule down. So Monday is the Tangent Tavern. It's myself and Callum just chatting about games and stuff. Wednesday is One Shot Wednesdays, and that is when our D&D group, Session 0, that's what we've decided to call ourselves ultimately, myself, Callum, Rage Darling, and Billy Tricks, we'll be doing one-shot Dungeons and Dragons games. The same characters, but different adventures. No real continuity. The best way I can describe it is... You know
wow, expansions.
Yeah. You know how Star Trek has the same cast, but every episode is a different adventure? That's kind of like our D&D thing. It's the same class, but every episode is a different adventure. Callum played the flute, and now he's got an actual flute. Timmy is the only continuity, the tiny elven child whose birthday you crashed and then burned his family alive.
Yeah.
There's a lot of context. You can go back and watch the whole thing. We'll set it up at some point. But yes, we will definitely be playing more of that. That will be on Wednesdays. And on Saturday, I'm going to play through some crappy PS1 games. Cal, I don't know if you caught the Saturday stream, but I completed all of Detective Barbie.
What?
There is a PlayStation 1 game called Detective Barbie Mystery Cruise. I finished it. in 2 hours. Visa, unfortunately, I watched it.
I've got so many questions.
They're all answered in the stream, mate. I'm going to make sure the stream is there. They are all answered. But no, it's an amazing thing. But we'll be playing more crappy stuff. Here, I've got a list of questions I want to chat to you about specifically. Let's go down and see what the next one was. That was it. It was the blockchain game. What? It was the whole Axi Infinity thing.
Right. Yes.
When is this financialization, this monetization of hobbies, gonna stop?
When people try to monetize their hobby and realize how shit that is. It's that simple, because it stops being a hobby and becomes a job. It really does. Like YouTube, again, a perfect example. If you upload videos for fun, now I was never really in that camp because it took off so quickly, but you'll probably be able to vouch for this. You upload videos whenever you want on whatever you want, and it's fun. And then when money starts coming in, you realize, okay, this is what makes money doing this. I'm going to have to follow that as long as I still find it somewhat enjoyable.
I am terrible at following analytics. So,
and me.
I've made a lot of videos on a lot of MMOs, a lot of blockchain, a lot of cryptocurrency, a lot of old games and stuff. And when I make a video, people have sat me down and they've said, Josh, you need to read your analytics. You need to look at Google Trends. You need to read your audience. You need to look at which thumbnails are working. You need to change your titles to improve stuff. And I know that I need to do all these things, and I don't do any of them.
No.
Like, I make a video about a game that I'm interested in. I make one thumbnail, one title, put it up, premiere it, then forget about it, and then go make another one. I am really bad at that kind of stuff.
I have to say, I'm in the same boat with that. I make videos on what I want to. I don't stress too much about the thumbnails, and a lot of people will change the thumbnails over the next couple of days and see if any one picks up more traction than the other. I don't. As long as the video does well enough, I'm happy.
Yeah, I know that I'm leaving a lot of potential on the table. I know that I am, because when we were at Insomnia, the amount of companies that came over to me and said, hey, could we sponsor you? You know, we'll put our logo on the thing and we'll give you a lot of money for it. And I said, okay, what do you do? And they're like, oh, we do this. And I said, I don't use those. I'm sorry, but I can't take a sponsorship from a company that I don't necessarily use myself. I would feel wrong doing it. So I know that I suck when it comes to optimization of content. But at the same time, I don't want that stress of trying to optimize. I don't want to feel like I'm beating the algorithm. I just want to make content people like.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is why a lot of YouTubers get burnt out. Because they start off doing what's fun. They tailor it to the algorithm and realize, oh, I'm getting a lot of money now. This is fun. But when you keep doing it, it just becomes work. And then you're like, okay, I want to go back to doing something a bit more fun. I'm going to do this crazy video that's a bit different. And then you feel bad because it's not paying your bills anymore.
Yeah, it's
that simple.
Have you ever felt guilty for playing a game in your free time and not making content out of it?
Oh my God. Do you know what? I was thinking about this yesterday. Whenever I play a game, I'm like, oh, this would be good YouTube content. And then I have to keep saying, no, Callum, this is fun you time. This is mess about and have fun, not work time.
For anyone on the chat right now, this is a really weird thing. And I know it's as first world problem as you can possibly go. You know, we're not complaining. We're just explaining the mental thought process to you. When I was sat downstairs playing Elden Ring, part of me thought, I really should be playing this on the PC. I should be recording it. I should be taking notes. I should be writing. And then when I realized that, no, I'm enjoying this. I'm playing this. I'm having fun. It's really strange that when you bring in the financialization of anything, when you aren't making money off it, doing it feels like you're missing out. Feels like a waste. And I'm super scared that this financialization of games, this monetization of play, is going to start seeping into the way that, you know, kids and young people see games. And it will get to a point now where, because young people are super easy to, you know, influence in any possible way. They pay attention to adverts all the time. You tell a kid now that not only can they play a game, they can earn money while playing the game. 10 years from now, are they going to play a game where they don't earn money?
The more I think about that, actually, my opinion on that may change, because we already have that now. We just don't realize it. Let's take RuneScape again as another example. Gold sellers, right? There's a portion of the players that are playing it, to have fun. And there is a portion of players that are playing it purely to make money. They don't find any enjoyment in the game. But they are feeding in to the players that want to play it for enjoyment and don't mind dropping a few dollars every day or month. So I guess we already have that. I think they're just going about advertising it wrong, because they are only advertising it to the players that want to earn, that want to work, but without the players that want to play it for fun and spend money. Because it has to be a cycle, right? This money doesn't come from nowhere.
Yeah, you've got to have people buying.
Let's say you're a player that wants to play this new game for fun, and I'm a player that wants to play it for money. We both have to exist for each of us to benefit from it, right? That's what it's going to be. But they're advertising it solely to the people that will make money, but they can't make money unless somebody's spending it. And if they're there to make money, they're not going to be the ones spending it.
I watched a video on, I think most people have watched it, it's got so many views, the process behind Roblox creation. I get messages every single day asking me to play either Minecraft MMORPGs or Roblox MMORPGs. And the reason I avoid them both is the moment I put that content up on the channel, not only will my advertising demographics switch heavily, I will never ever stop being bombarded with messages of, oh, I see you play Roblox games, play my game. I see you play Minecraft mods, play my Minecraft mod. I'm scared to open that floodgate. But Roblox and Minecraft content creation, making stuff in the game, seems to follow a very similar predatory style as the gaming industry in general. It's full of passionate people, and their passion is taken advantage of.
Yes. There was a big scandal around this with Roblox. You've probably seen the video where they were actually asked to take the video down because they'd exposed this whole ring of just milking developers for money that was going to random people that just don't work. You know, they just lounge around the house and direct people. And then when they've got one big mod under their belt, well, they can just get another and another, and they don't do anything. They just underpay actual developers. I think there was an artist. Now, Roblox art isn't the best, but you still have to put the effort in and know the art skills, right? Yeah. There was an artist that was being paid something like 22 pence an hour to, like, a 13-year-old kid being paid 22 pence an hour to work full time.
It's disgusting, isn't it? I mean,
it is.
It's the same as, you know, we'll pay you an exposure. Oh, you want to work for us because then you'll be seen as big in the industry. You'll be seen as important and stuff like that. Gaming is a passion-driven industry. And unfortunately, a lot of kids want to get into the gaming industry, and so they will let the industry take advantage of them, and they will do what they are told is good. I fear that we're going to get to a point now, or we're starting to push toward a point where the passion of gaming, of YouTubing, of Twitch streaming becomes so efficiency-based. You know, when you play an MMORPG and you enjoy it because you don't know much about it and you just make bad decisions and you play how you want, and then you learn the meta and you learn the best rotation, the best items, the best this, the best that. Do you think we're starting to get to the meta of our lives based on financial benefits to it? Are we playing games to a boring, emotionally vapid meta because it brings in the most money?
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I think you've hit it spot on there.
Are we min-maxing life?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. If you're not saving time, then the thing you're doing has to be making money, right? Like, that's kind of what we've got to now with gaming.
Red Sky in the chat has just put, the former JMod Matt K says, people are starting to look at the science of game making as opposed to the passion and the art.
And that's clear. Game making. That is, like, abundantly clear. In fact, Matt K is an amazing person to hang out in his stream. We raid him quite often. He's a super nice guy.
He's funny on Twitter as well. He's really funny on Twitter.
He is. He's a bit of a comedy genius, but like he's been in the gaming industry a long time, so he's watched this happen as well. Yeah. Like he's watched the. Like I said this in one of our devlogs. Game development, like games are being built backwards, right? RuneScape, another good example. They made a game that was fun, passionate, between three brothers. They just wanted to make something that they wanted to play. And guess what? Other people wanted to play it because it was something that was fun. The last thing they thought about was monetizing it. Like, there were times where they were at an absolute loss because they were buying servers that they couldn't afford, but they wanted to keep the game running. And now look how successful it's been. But then you've got other games where the first board meeting discussion they have at this game is, right, what's going to make us the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of effort?
There's an old saying, a camel is a horse designed by committee. And what this tends to mean is, if you have a large amount of people discussing on the best way to move forward with a project, all of them will put a small amount of things in, and eventually all of their ideas will be taken because they're all good individually, and then something will be created. I think when you have a committee or a board members team making something, it ends up feeling very corporate. Very corporate and very fake and very soulless. And you can see that, you can feel the difference. The last thing that someone just put in chat, Elon Musk has just bought Twitter. So we will definitely talk about that in a second.
I was just looking at that.
The last MMORPG that I can imagine was made by committee was New World.
And yeah, that is a prime example of a game just going south from the get-go.
I think New World was a load of people, a load of actual, big tech industry people, a lot of big business who sat down and went, right, what is the best way we can possibly make an MMORPG? And they created that. To put it into the whole passion thing, have you seen John Wick, the film? You know who made John Wick?
No.
A bunch of stuntmen. A bunch of stuntmen basically said, we want to make a film that pays homage to the job of the stuntman.
And they nailed that.
They did. They said, right, let's get stuntmen in. We're going to get a stuntman scriptwriter. We're going to get a stuntman director. We're going to get all the stuntmen involved, possibly. And we're going to find an actor who will actually learn how to do all of the stunts. And Keanu Reeves was straight there. John Wick is a film written by stuntmen, about the job of being a stuntman. And it's freaking brilliant. You can tell that was made out of pure love and passion and heart. And I was smiling all the way through John Wick. I thought, this is brilliant. This is pure passion.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it.
Yeah. And you know what film that I didn't really care much about? Any of the new Star Wars films.
I have to agree. I watched them and I was like, they're okay as a thing to watch. Wouldn't watch them again. In fact, I haven't watched them again.
I didn't feel any love, any passion. I felt that it was very science and not very art, which was a shame.
Yeah. In fact, I can tell you what the boardroom meeting was that created that. Okay, we've got lots of IPs now. Which one's going to make a lot of money? Star Wars is really popular right now. Should we chuck out a Star Wars film?
Yeah.
They don't have to build a franchise. It's already there.
Yeah.
Let's just, like it's an exit strategy almost. Like, let's milk it while it's going.
Here's an example, and we will get onto the Twitter thing in a second because it's a big thing. But here's an example that I actually use whenever I'm teaching people about film or art or emotion in general. Have you seen the first Pirates of the Caribbean film?
I have, yes.
Have you seen the third Pirates of the Caribbean film?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, so third Pirates film, massive battle by a huge vortex in the sea. Ships all smashing around each other, special effects, absolutely amazing, cannonballs flying, splinters of wood. And I didn't really feel anything. Visually beautiful, emotionally vapid.
Yeah.
First film, there's a fight in the blacksmith's shop between Will Turner and Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
And there's not even that many actual blows exchanged with the swords. There's even a bit where they step and he goes...
Like round the pole.
Yeah, he says, if I step here, and the other one goes, I step here. And he goes, good, I see you know what you're doing. That was two characters interacting, and we got to know them, and we got to get involved with them. And that scene to me, that fight scene to me, is art.
Yeah.
Because it's not about...
One of the best fight scenes with the least amount of fighting in it. It was really good.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. In fact, if I watched a scene on YouTube yesterday, if you want to see what an absolutely brutal fight scene looks like. There's a film called, I think it's called Nobody.
Okay.
There's a fight on a bus. I don't know if anyone in the chat here has...
It rings a bell.
Oh my god, that fight on a bus. That is how you do a fight scene. That is insane. I had to rewind and watch that scene again. I'm like, that is incredible. Very simple, very basic, but just super brutal. And then you get massive films like, The Avengers, that are beautiful, but I don't necessarily feel anything about them.
Yeah, in fact, I had this kind of revelation the other day when I was watching the Halo TV series. Now, a lot of people are criticising the CGI or criticising that X doesn't look like Y or Z was different in the books. But one thing I've got to give them props for is the character building and the interaction between characters. They've nailed.
Okay.
And the fact that I hadn't thought about it just shows how good it is, because it doesn't feel weird, it doesn't feel off. Yeah, they've taken some artistic liberties with the interactions, because it's a different medium, right? It's not a game, it's a film. So that really does make or break something like that. And you can tell that they went into this with the passion of making something that's going to be enjoyable to watch, a fun story to follow, and they've nailed both of that. So, they really have. To
bring this all back to the idea of MMORPGs feeling more like science than art, Deadpool. You've seen the film Deadpool? You haven't seen Deadpool? Okay, brilliant film.
I did, but I was very drunk around a friend's house.
They basically gave the dude... No, it wasn't Deadpool, it was... I'm thinking of Joker. You've seen Joker?
Right.
They gave Joker less and less and less and less and less budget. They basically wanted to make the film fail. They didn't think that a Batman extended universe would work. So every time they asked for more money for the Joker film, they just said no. And they got less and less and less and less and less. And eventually they sat down, the directors and the actors, and they said, look, we don't have enough money to make this a spectacle. We don't have enough money to make this Joker film a traditional superhero film. So what we need to do is make it a character film. An emotion, character-driven film about your history and your feelings, and small encounters like fighting 3 guys on a subway instead of fighting 300 guys on a spaceship. And Joker is one of the best films I've ever seen.
Yeah. Graphics will only do so much.
Yeah.
That goes for both films and games.
And I think that's because Joker is about art and less about spectacle.
Yeah.
Which MMORPG games now are putting art ahead of spectacle? Terra was a spectacle game, and it failed. Aeon is a spectacle game. They're just big, flashy, bright and brilliant. Which MMOs put art first?
New World.
No, I'd say that New World was more of a spectacle thingy, because it was just, hey, let's make it as big as we possibly can. New World isn't emotionally connected to me at all.
No. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's like, it was beautiful, but it was so bland. The same goes for... God, what's it even called?
It's a good thing when you can't remember the name of it.
The space game, Star Citizen.
Okay.
Absolute spectacle graphically, right?
It's a
what
promise.
What gameplay is there? Yeah, but what is there looks beautiful. But there's no good gameplay.
Yeah.
At all.
So I think that the problem that a lot of MMORPGs are facing is they are being made by following the science and not necessarily following the passion of a small team of developers. Because when you look at the big successful MMORPGs, they had a relatively small team of developers work on them. Not many people worked on RuneScape. World of Warcraft had a team of 30
12,
people?
I think.
Yeah, it wasn't big, was it, at all? It wasn't big at all. It wasn't, hundreds or thousands of people.
No.
Elder Scrolls Online was probably the team with the biggest amount of people at the start, but I don't think they ever expected to be this big. I mean, Guild Wars 1 wasn't hundreds of people. It was a dedicated team. And now, when you get an MMORPG team together, you've instantly got to get hundreds of people, millions of funding, and you're focusing on what the science tells you to do, not what passion tells you to do. As much as I might think Mortal Online 1 and 2 made some mistakes, I can respect the fact that the developers of it went, this is what we're making. This is the game. okay, cool. You're not aiming it at me, but I respect the fact you're making it.
And yeah, and in fact, there's further proof to back this up. Look at what's happened to RuneScape and WoW. The players got so sick of the kind of min-maxing of how much money can we get out with little effort put in that they've gone back to the game that was beautiful in both graphics and story.
Yeah, classic.
They've got classic WoW, old school RuneScape, and they both look like shit. There's no denying that. They look awful, but they are incredibly fun.
Let's go on to the next big story that we've just been informed of. Has Elon Musk just bought Twitter?
He has.
I'm going to Google this right now.
I'm on the article right now and his Twitter. He has indeed had the bid accepted at 43 billion.
What? 43 billion with a B?
With a B.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Agrees to buy Twitter. I'm getting various numbers from 43 to 46 billion. But
so one of them's the evaluation based on shares and one's the offer he put in.
Okay, cool. So 43, 44, 45. I'm seeing a lot of different numbers on this, but that's a lot.
That's a hell of a lot.
Does he know that it's free? just make an account. Is he there going, what? I could have just... Oh, bugger.
Yeah.
Right, so what's he going to do? What's the Musk going to do?
So I follow Musk on Twitter, mostly because I'm interested in SpaceX and Tesla, right?
Yeah.
So I've actually been following through with what he's been saying, and essentially he wants freedom of speech to come back and to stop the censorship that Twitter's enforcing. I agree with that, because it's hard to deny that the things they have been censoring shift from time to time, and especially around elections.
Okay, yeah, because
that's...
Newspapers used to be how elections were won, because all of the newspapers, mostly in the UK, were owned by, was it Rupert Murdoch? And people always think, because newspapers, print media, is aimed at either left-leaning people or right-leaning people or centrist people, but it's weird because actually all of the newspapers are owned by like 2 or 3 people. So if you're printing something that the left are going to read, you're also printing something that the right are going to read, and you get to slowly guide the narrative by playing both sides. Print media is now not as powerful as digital media. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch and YouTube to an extent, these are the new public mind-shaping tools.
Yeah.
What's Elon Musk going to shape it to?
Well, I'm not entirely sure, but he's been talking about making it the people's social media. So kind of like almost open sourcing it in a sense. Because people have been asking for years for an edit.
Jeff Bezos.
That will be his first board meeting, just a massive hammer on the table. But people have been asking for an edit button for years for your tweets, right? That's something, I don't know if he's joking about that, but that's like first plan apparently, is to add an edit tweet button or an undo retweet, which is something that I agree with.
It's going to be so dangerous though, because you're going to be able to tweet something out, have a load of replies to it, edit it, take a screenshot, edit that. But is there going to be edit limits?
He's already addressed that concern. The tweet's background will be a different color once edited.
Oh, brilliant.
So it'll be abundantly clear that this tweet was edited, and you'll be able to see... I think you'll either be able to see the original tweet still. So it's not to remove what you said. It's sort of like, how on Facebook, if you edit a post,
right, I see it.
To like correct spelling mistakes, you can still see what the original said.
Someone's just put the $44 billion edit button. Maybe Elon Musk just got so fed up of deleting his own tweets because he made a spelling mistake. He's like, right, I'm buying Twitter. I'm going to add the edit button and then do nothing else.
Yeah.
Respect.
I mean, I'm interested to see what happens with it, because...
What is it with bots that use an Elon Musk profile picture, and there's a picture and they say something like Google, and then there's always 3 words. It's like sky, watch, grass.
Do you
and
know
then underneath
what
it says
hate?
thank me later. I'm like, are you promoting a watch or something?
The thing that I hate the most is on YouTube, have you seen the real SpaceX live? And they've got, or it's always like the most obscure name. It'll be like Real on Tesla, Elon Musk, SpaceX live stream now.
Yeah.
And you watch it, all comments are disabled. And it's literally a repeating clip of Elon Musk saying different things about Bitcoin spliced together. with a wallet address saying, send me 10 Bitcoin, I'll send you 20 back.
Yeah.
It's literally the doubling money scam, but it's so weird, and they pop up all the time. But the main promise he's made is that Twitter bots are about to be completely annihilated.
I feel that a lot of people who fall for scams didn't play RuneScape.
Oh,
I don't think
absolutely.
Jagex get given enough kind of recognition for the fact that a lot of people in life who are noticing a scam or who are understanding market manipulation really did get their start in RuneScape.
Yeah. I completely agree. If I hadn't played RuneScape, I'd have probably have fallen for some of these dumb scams.
I did
in RuneScape.
Hey, I've fallen for scams before. The scam that I remember falling for was the door trick, which is where they get you to stand in a certain square.
And it locks open.
Yeah, you drop your items, and then they trade you, and you trade them, which makes you step forward a square. The door locks open, and then you can't get back to the square behind it.
Yeah.
And I remember that being really clever, and I thought, you know what, let's just never drop anything valuable ever again. But
Yeah.
I learned not to do that. So Elon Musk has bought Twitter. I'm trying to think about what the positive... Anyone in the chat, people in the chat, you know what that watch thing is that I'm talking about, right? You know what it is, Kai. It always says,
Yeah.
thank me later, and it's always someone saying Google Sky Oblivion Watch.
I actually know what that is, by the way.
What is it?
So, tools came out where SEO, like search engine optimization, is like this big thing. So what they do is they actually set up a website that mimics like a SpaceX website where they're selling a new thing, but it doesn't exist, right? And they will purposely absolutely nuke their SEO down to the point that only one result will ever come up when you search 3 words.
Okay.
So they'll get the SEO so low that only if you search those specific 3 words, and they'll be random words, the randomer the better, right? That when you search those, that is the only site that comes up. And because it's at the top of the list, you assume it is a real Tesla thing, you buy it, and you never get the super hyper grass quad bike electric thing that was promised.
That's really clever. You can destroy your own search engine optimization rankings so much that only 3 words will ever show you. And because you've seen a tweet or a screenshot of a tweet that looks like Elon Musk said it, people go and do that. You know what? Someone mentioned earlier that the Simpsons ran out of ideas and we're just using them as almost like soulless husks to propel story ideas forward. Have you seen the Simpsons episode with Elon Musk?
No. I feel I need to now.
Okay. This is, I think, an example of old Simpsons versus new Simpsons and how they treated celebrities. And people in the chat, you can tell me if you agree with me or disagree with me. The Simpsons originally was a satirical parody of the American nuclear family, which is the idea of mum, dad, 2 kids, dog, everything's perfect, white pinafore dress, picket fence, apple pie on the windowsill, the beautiful stuff. And in the 1960s and 70s, you had these TV shows that just showed the perfect family. The perfect American family, and it was all great, and it was all lovely, and it was family values all the way. And Matt Groening basically said, you know, that's crap. Let's make a show where the dad is fat and lazy. Let's make a show where the mum is unfulfilled, where the son is rebellious and angry, where the daughter is an underappreciated genius. It was basically it was a piss take.
Yeah.
And when they had celebrities on early Simpsons, they took the piss out of the celebrity.
Yeah.
Or they used the celebrity as the butt of a joke repeatedly. There was a Simpsons episode with Michael Jackson. And he was the mental patient in the hospital. And he was singing. Now, Michael Jackson actually did voice that character. He didn't sing the character because his agent wouldn't allow him to. So it was sung by an impersonator, but it was voiced by Michael. And they took the piss out of that. And that's fantastic. They had George Bush Sr. on, didn't they? And George Bush became enemies with Homer. When they have Elon Musk on, they just treat him like Elon Musk. They even have Lisa say he's the most important inventor of our generation.
No, I have seen it because I remember that, or I've seen a clip of it.
And it just strikes me as modern Simpsons seems to be more about celebrity worship than celebrity parody. Because
I don't think it's that, even. I think it's just that they've realised that cancel culture now is such a rampant thing that... Like, do you remember there was a scene where Homer was dressed as a girl, and I can't remember what was said to him by another character, but back then you just laughed at it, right? And then I believe the whole trans community was up in arms about something that wasn't aimed at the trans community, and that's when they really started roping in everything they said.
Yeah.
And other communities as well, did the same for different episodes. But if they do that with the rampant fan bases of celebrities, and definitely Elon Musk's followers, they would be held at a stake.
Low John has just pointed out something very, very correct. You can only be avant-garde for so long. So The Simpsons started out as a parody of the All-American Family TV shows. And as it went on, what starts as parody, what starts as extreme, becomes normalized. And then Family Guy came along, and that parodied The Simpsons. And it not only parodied it with characters, but it parodied it with narrative structure, with the amount of cutaway gags they had, and the amount of violence that was in it, and the fact that everything was just come back. There's even a term for it, as Mac has pointed out. The term is Flanderization, based on Ned Flanders from The Simpsons. The idea that the longer something goes on, the more extreme it becomes, and the more parody it becomes of itself, until it is the thing that it was originally parodying.
Yeah.
Do you think The Simpsons has ran out of stuff to parody and is now just
Itself
a
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah, I feel that the jokes used to catch you off guard, but now you can just... in the later episodes, you could tell what the joke was as it was being set up, before the punchline even came in. Because that's what they do now.
Yeah. So,
Don't
weirdly,
expect the expected.
I actually used The Simpsons in my university degree. So I wrote a paper on something called Simulation and Simulacra, which is a book by the French philosopher Jean Baudrillard. And the idea is, if something is a simulation of something else, you need to have the something else originally there to simulate and to
as a
parody.
reference. Yeah.
What happens when the something else no longer is there, and so the simulation starts to become its own thing? It's almost like an established reality is being created out of parodying something that no longer exists, and it's almost a hollow... They call it the desert of the real. And they actually use it in The Matrix. You've seen the film The Matrix? Jesus, Cal, you haven't seen Die Hard. You haven't seen The Matrix.
Okay, I've got a confession about The Matrix.
What were you doing for like the late 90s, early 2000s?
About 2 weeks ago, I was lying in bed, put it on Fire TV, and immediately fell asleep.
Did you at least fall asleep on a keyboard with a monitor of scrolling green text in front of you? Because that would be acceptable.
No, I fell asleep on a body pillow.
What an absolute Chad thing to say. Yep, body pillow. A Stoller from FF14 straight up. What a brilliant bit of honesty.
I have actually never owned a body pillow.
You can change that if you want. They were selling them at
point
Insomnia.
of no return for me.
They were selling them at Insomnia.
They were, and Kate told me to buy one.
I'm pretty sure at Insomnia I saw someone getting really annoyed that the anime body pillows weren't more explicit.
Yeah, what was the one that I was looking at?
People in the chat say they're going to send you a body... We'll get you a Keanu Reeves body pillow. I bet you would be up for it.
Could you imagine waking up face to face with Keanu?
Oh, every day, mate. Every day. That's the only reason I get out of bed anymore.
That's not such a bad thing now that I think about it.
I bet he'd make you breakfast. He'd make you a cup of tea.
Probably would. He'd kill my dog as well. I don't even have a dog, and I'm still terrified that might happen.
Mate, he is a beautiful, lovely human being. I like him a lot. I think he'd be a good guy to hang out with. But no, in all seriousness, we'll watch The Matrix. But in The Matrix, for those of you who have seen it, at the very start of the film, Neo gives a disc that he's made with like a virus on to a dude that's buying it off him, and he opens a book.
I saw that bit,
The book is hollowed out. That book that he opens up, that is Simulation and Simulacra by Jean Baudrillard, because the idea of the Matrix is it's a world copying the idea of a world that used to exist, but it's been copied so many times that it's not even sure what it is anymore.
Right.
The Simpsons started off as a parody of the American nuclear family. There are no shows on TV anymore that are the American nuclear family, which means The Simpsons is a parody of a genre that no longer exists, which means it has become a parody, it has become a genre unto itself. Let's loop this back round to MMORPGs.
Yeah.
The Simpsons has ran out of things to parody. Have MMORPGs ran out of stories to tell? Has Warcraft ran out of stories to tell?
So I think in a way, yes, because there's the typical trope of fantasy, right? Mm-hmm. And by them parodying the D&D trope, I don't know, whatever old text-based game you used to play, they've done all of it. Mm-hmm. Like, fantasy has been fulfilled. There is no more fantasy that they can pull from. So they're now doing a mix of repeating that same fantasy and trying to introduce their own. But people only play WoW to fulfill a fantasy that they couldn't in a text-based or D&D game. But there is no previous version of this new fantasy. They're making it.
You know how with Game of Thrones, the first 5 seasons of the TV show followed the books pretty much spot on, and then they ran out of books, and so they got TV writers in. And the way that TV writers write stories is so phenomenally different to the way book writers write stories. TV writers write stories for the here and now. They write it for the character-based plots, and they write it with plot armor so no one can die. But book writers write about the land, they write about the political struggles, the ideological struggles. They tend to look at the overall journey of the world, whereas TV writers look at the journey of the characters.
Yes.
Do you believe that after Wrath of the Lich King, maybe after Cataclysm, possibly up to Battle for Azeroth, the World of Warcraft writers were pulling from the Warcraft lore, both Warcraft Orcs and Humans, Warcraft Tides of Darkness, and then Reign of Chaos and the Frozen Throne. They were pulling from that war, and by the time they ran out of that lore, they had to start to write their own, and it just wasn't as deep.
No, I agree with that. That's absolutely part of the issue. I think there's so many compounding issues, like the borrowed power, the running out of material to work from. There's just so many, like the talents changing to the point that they're useless. Killing community. They sandbagged that game so hard in the span of 2 expansions. I think they keep trying to find which one was it that was the issue, but they've been overlooking the fact it was all of them.
Okay. And this actually links quite nicely to the idea of The Simpsons. World of Warcraft was a response to EverQuest, because EverQuest was quite complex and difficult to get into at the time. EverQuest and Ultima Online had this feud thing going on. World of Warcraft came out, and at the time, World of Warcraft was actually the casual game. It was much easier to get into than EverQuest. It was much more beginner-friendly. It was much faster. It was much more cool. It was pushed.
Yeah.
And then, as it's gone on and on and on, do you think World of Warcraft is now the Simpsons of MMORPGs? It's popular because it's been popular for so long. It's so well known. It's almost grandfathered into culture. And just as The Simpsons is now telling stories with established characters for the sake of telling stories. I mean, recently there was a Simpsons episode where they showed a flashback. And the flashback was Homer and Marge and Chief Wiggum and Dr. Hibbert in school. But they were in school in the year 2000. And they were doing a play about the Y2K computer bug that was going to be big. But we've already seen flashbacks during the year 2000 to The Simpsons when they were in the 1990s or the mid-1980s, which means The Simpsons now has absolutely no continuity whatsoever with time frames. Was Homer a child in the 90s or a child in the 80s or a child in the 2000s? We don't know anymore. It's now just messed up.
Yeah, do you know, I hadn't even thought about that, but you're right. Yeah.
It's so messed up, man. World of Warcraft is now a vehicle for pushing gameplay. No one cares about the plot, it pushes gameplay. The Simpsons is simply a shell of itself for pushing disconnected stories, featuring characters we know and we've already established and already joined up to. Is World of Warcraft The Simpsons? I mean, I'd never thought of that comparison before. What do you guys in chat think? What do you guys think, Cal? Cal, is World of Warcraft The Simpsons?
Do you know, I think it might be, actually. I'd never thought about that, but you're spot on.
We're spot on, man. We came to this conclusion. The chat's spot on.
Yeah, everyone's right. Nobody can be wrong here.
You know what?
No, I think you are right with that. Definitely.
Someone in the chat just said, "Wow, Josh, you're really smart." I'm not, okay? I'm dumb enough to know that I need to talk to people smarter than me. Callum knows way more about development than I will ever know. You guys in the chat right now, you've got so many more opinions and so much more knowledge than I've got. All I'm good at doing is bringing a lot of ideas together and trying to make them sound dummy simple. Because if I can't make them sound dummy simple, I don't understand them. It's the best way to look at it. So I think we, unfortunately, have just discovered that World of Warcraft is The Simpsons.
It's a sad time to be alive.
What a great way brilliant way to end the podcast. Cal, any final thoughts? I'm unhappy.
Yeah, my life is meaningless now.
Ladies and gents, we have been discussing for about an hour and 3/4. We're coming up to the 2-hour mark, which is a very successful Tangent Tavern. I hope you enjoy the new layout. I think it's cool.
Oh, speaking of new layouts, I have been working on something for the Session Zero live streams.
Session Zero, for anyone, is the Dungeons and Dragons game that we will be playing on Wednesday. Callum plays a fantastic bard.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. My flute has been less than useful until now. But I've been working on something in Unreal Engine that should unify all of the streams together and be very customizable.
Okay.
We're going to have player health bars that you can manually change, Josh.
Cool.
We are going to have dice that you can roll in a specific area of the screen that don't go all over the place.
Okay.
We are going to have, and this is, we need to talk about this after the stream, actually. I've got some ideas to shoot with you.
Okay.
Potentially, Josh can press a button on this app and change the background for all 3 people's streams. So we're all unified, consistent in the same zone.
Okay.
And a wheel of creatures that you can fully customize that spins on everybody's screen.
So, like, if we're in a forest, I can make it look like we're in a forest for every stream at the same time.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Okay, let's see if that works. That is a good idea.
Oh, each person has their own set of dice as well. So you can have red and gold dice for the DM to roll. Billy can have purpley blue ones for her mage, and you know, all of that good stuff.
This is really good. This is really cool. I am looking forward to this. So, someone in the chat's just asked, am I doing another Josh Strife Plays? Yes, I've been editing a Baldur's Gate playthrough for the last 4 weeks, because Baldur's Gate took me about 40 hours to finish, and I'm trying to condense 40 hours worth of Baldur's Gate with every frickin' interaction in the game down into a 2-hour video. Baldur's Gate is... There is an entire wiki page for how one character romantically reacts to what other characters say during walking. Like, that is how deep Baldur's Gate is. It is my longest ever script. Okay, it is 2 hours of constant talking. I finished the game. I did a lot of the side quest. I got all the items. I'm talking you through it. It is ridiculous, but it's going to be a super big game. I am never doing another RPG. Was it good again? I'm going to look a simple game. Someone said to me, why don't I do Disney's Hercules for the PlayStation 1? And I thought, I could finish Hercules in about 6 hours, or I could finish Baldur's Gate in 30. And I went with Baldur's Gate, but the next game will be Disney's Hercules. So,
do you know what this means, Josh?
What's that, Cal?
I've just made Roll20 out of spite.
You have? Does this add to it? So, you've made out of spite, you made Nightmare World because Dream World annoyed you. You made Marbles on Stream because Marbles on Stream didn't give you anything. You made Earth 2 in Discord because you wanted to prove that you could. You made a massive 3D virtual reality Earth because they said you couldn't. And now you've made a lot of the features on Roll20, but pretty much for free just for us. Because, Cal, is it genuinely easier for you to just make something from scratch than it is to go and buy something that already exists?
It's not easier, but I can't complain about it afterwards because it was my fault if it was shit.
That is such a developer attitude right there. What a brilliant developer attitude. Yes, I could buy this, but if I make it, I can only complain to me. That's a good attitude. Cal, thank you very much for the chat tonight. It's been absolutely lovely. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Please, if you're in my chat, do me a favour. Go and follow Callum as well.
Hey.
All the socials are on the stream. You just type in Callum Upton onto Twitch or YouTube or Twitter. You'll find him all there. Make sure you're following him too. He is lovely. Cal, do you have any videos coming out this week?
Yes, I've got 2 videos coming out. I'm not sure. Okay, I've got a list of 8 videos that I plan on making, so I don't know what's coming out first. So
there'll be something coming out at some point.
There'll be something tomorrow, yes.
Right, well, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a lovely night. Everyone on Callum's stream, thank you for joining us as well. Take care, good night, and God bless.